How's everybody doing today? Got a draft analysis of Baloo's team today. This is for the Chef Goon Draft League, Pokemon Sword and Shield. So first off, I'm going to look at a core team for him. Got Dracovish, Choice Scarf, and Strong Jaw. That's going to boost all of its bite-based attacks by 1.5. We have the all-powerful Vicious Rend. So whenever Dracovish moves faster than the opponent, then this gets doubled up. So it goes from 85 up to 170, and then stab boost, so another 1.5 times boost, then strong jaw, another 1.5 boost, and then if it's a choice banded, then it's 1.5 as well. Here we're running Scarf just to ensure that we're faster. Next up we've got Outrage for its other stab attack. 120 base, it's going to be really hard for people to deal with. The only problem with it is you have to watch out for your opponent's fairy types. So you're going to want to make sure that those are gone beforehand. Next, we just have two coverage moves. Both of these work with the Strong Jaw, so probably going to be some of the better options. For EVs, we're going max attack, max speed, jolly nature just to ensure that we can outspeed things more. Along with this, we're going with a Life Orb Hatterene, pretty much the normal set that you see around. Calm Mind, just to set up if you get the chance. It does have Magic Bounce, so while you're setting up, people can't throw a Toxic on you. They can't Thunder Wave, nothing like that. We have Psychic and Dazzling Gleam as our main stab attacks here. And then we have a coverage move. Mystical Fire is probably going to be the best for Baloo because he doesn't have too many things that have fire attacks. For EVs, we're going max HP and max special attack, modest nature. Now, Hatterene only has a 29 base speed. It's ridiculously slow. So putting anything in speed is not going to be doing anything at all. Like even if it were to be up to max speed. Let's see that real quick. I can grab on. Yeah. Max speed 157 with a modest nature, so that's not going to be doing anything at all. So just something to think about when you're playing with Hatterene. It's going to be moving last the majority of the time. Next, we have a physically defensive Toxapex, Black Sludge, and Regenerator. It's one of the few mons in the game that actually has this ability, so it's great that something like Toxapex has it still. We're running Toxic, Haze, Scald, and Recover. Toxic is so you can keep your opponent from setting up. Haze is to make them quit setting up, as well as get rid of the stat changes that they've done. Also, if you get any defense drops on yourself, then you can get rid of that, so you don't have to worry. Scald, just to get the burn chance, as well as doing a decent chunk of damage. It is 80 base power plus stab, so it's a nice little option there. And it also has Recover, just to be able to tank more and to keep the game going for you. Other options for this build, maybe you can run like Protect if you're trying to get more of the Toxic. Toxic Spikes maybe even, but this is not really a team that uses that as often. For EVs, we have max HP, max defense, has a 152 base defense and 142 base special defense, so it's a great wall, especially in this kind of draft. You can really min-max it or kind of set it up for what you need to do some calcs before the game and figure it out from there. Bold Nature, just to increase that defense even more. Next up, we have a Choice Banded Adaptability Crawdaunt. Now, as we saw on Smogan tiers, Crawdaunt just got put up to the borderline tier, so right above UU. Adaptability is going to boost the stab from a 1.5 to a 2 times boost. So with a choice band, this thing is getting basically a 2.5 times boost to its damage, which that's insane. We've got Aqua Jet, works with adaptability, priority attack. Blue is kind of lacking on priority attack, so I believe it's just this and Pangoro, but this one is going to be the most damaging that it can get. Even on something that resists it, it's going to take a giant chunk. Knockoff, most powerful knockoff in the game here. Adaptability boost, choice band boost. It's crazy. Knockoff is really good, kind of like a little pseudo coverage thing. You knock off on a switch out, they're going to lose their item. So not something your opponent really wants to be dealing with. Liquidation, just the biggest attack that you can go for. Adaptability boost again. And then a coverage move. I think close combat's going to be good for this team here. Another option is maybe going with like Rock Slide. Maybe even X Scissor. Seems a little weird, but if he needs it for somebody's team, then more power to him. Next, for the EVs, we're going max HP, max attack, adamant nature. We're putting everything into the attack as we can, pretty much just so we can spam that Aqua Jet with the choice band. So I think it should work out for him pretty well. A lot of Baloo's team is really bulky, so it's going to be hard for him to really get the speed tiers going. So Crawdon is going to be really important for a lot of games. Next up, we have a specially defensive Golurk with Leftovers and Iron Fist. Now, it has no guard, but it really doesn't get like the stab bonus or anything like that. So it doesn't really benefit from Dynamic Punch as much as like a Machamp would. We're using Stealth Rocks on the Golurk. This is the only Stealth Rocker that Baloo has in his draft picks, so pretty important there. Also with the Ghost Ground typing, it's able to come in on Volt switches, which is really important for the team because he has a lot of grass types. So that's going to be good there. Earthquake, just for the stab. It doesn't have a bunch of utility like other support mons would or other things that have Stealth Rocks, so it's pretty much every time going to be Stealth Rocks, 3 attacks. We've got Earthquake, we've got Thunder Punch, and Ice Punch. Pretty much just whatever coverage he needs, he can go for here. The only other option that he could do is if he wants the second stab, he could go for Shadow Punch. That is its most damaging like turn hit move. It also has Phantom Force, but I'm not a big fan. I think it's pretty easy to dodge in game, so I don't like going for it. Max HP, max special defense. Just for this build here, more of the time it's going to be max HP, max attack, but the whole team was looking like that and you needed a special wall other than just letting the Hatterene tank, so this guy's going to have to do there. Next up, we have a Life Orb Surfetched with the Scrappy ability. That's going to allow him to hit ghost types with his close combat. So we're using a Life Orb instead of a Choice Band here because we want to go for Defog. It is one of Baloo's few options. I believe it's Surfetched, Cramorant. I think that's all actually. So pretty much just the choice between those two each game if he decides to bring a Defog. His team's pretty bulky though, so maybe worrying about the entry hazards isn't that big of a deal. But you want the Defog here just in case your opponent gets up a Sticky Webs against the Dracovish. Close combat for the stab, it's going to do a giant chunk of damage to anything that comes in. They can't dodge it with a ghost type like you normally could because of that Scrappy ability. We've got Brave Bird for coverage, and we've got another knockoff here. Alternatively though, he could go for First Impression, which could also be a good one. He has the priority there, which I didn't mention before. Maybe Leaf Blade if he's going against somebody with like a Seismitoad or one of the other ground water types. Poison Jab if he's going against fairies. So things like that. I think knockoff is a good middle ground though because your opponent's not going to want to switch into it very often, and it'll be good for playing against anything that has like an Eviolite or things of that nature. Next up, almost max HP. We just want to get that odd number. Max attack, Adamant Nature, with all the extra going into special defense because it's his lower of the defenses. So this thing is going to be a big bruiser. It's going to be hard for people to deal with. Moving on to the next team we have for Baloo is a double-banded Trick Room team. Now starting off with the Dracovish, we're going Choice Band this time. Vicious Rend, Outrage, Earthquake, and Psychic Fangs just for the coverage moves there. Now this time we're going with a Brave Nature, almost max HP, max attack, Adamant, Brave, We want the most amount of damage we can get. Once the Trick Room is up from the Hatterene, we want this thing to just get as many kills as it can before that Trick Room's gone. Next with the Hatterene, we're going Leftovers. Baloo's only Trick Roomer that he has in the draft is Hatterene, so once this thing comes out, it needs to keep itself healthy. So Leftovers for the natural healing. EVs, we're going max HP, max special attack with a quiet nature, reduce that speed even more. We've got Trick Room, Dazzling Gleam, Psychic, and Draining Kiss. Now here, the Draining Kiss is actually more important than the Dazzling Gleam, so we could swap this up into Mystical Fire, maybe Giga Drain, all depends on what he's going against. So in this case, I think that the Draining Kiss will be better than Dazzling Gleam because it needs to keep itself healthy. Next, we have a Life Orb Pangoro with Iron Fist. So we have the Priority Bullet Punch. It doesn't have access to Mach Punch, which is kind of unusual for a fighting type like this. So kind of just the best of what we can get. Iron Fist is going to boost it, so it's going to get the 1.2 times boost, and then also the 1.3 times boost from the Life Orb. So that'll be good to maybe knock something out that revenged one of your guys, something like that. Close Combat for the big amount of damage. Parting Shot, so you can bring this thing in. Parting Shot maybe to set up the Hatterene, or even if you want to get in your Dracovish or something else that can resist a hit. Then we have Darkest Lariat as its next stab attack. As far as EVs go, we're going max HP, max attack with a brave nature. Just like the Dracovish, we want this thing to hit really hard. This is almost your secondary sweeper in case something happens to the Dracovish. Now we have almost the same set as the previous Toxic Spikes, except here we are using Toxic Spikes. And the reason for this is that you don't want your opponent to be able to stall out the Trick Room with Protects and things like that. So you get the Toxic Spikes out, then you bring in a Sweeper, and your opponent tries to protect, but they're getting poisoned over time. And if they bring something else in, then that's getting poisoned as well. Now with Toxic Spikes, you can get 2 layers up, so that'll change it from being just a regular poison to toxic damage, and toxic damage will scale throughout. So getting up those 2 spikes could be important for this build. Next we have a Choice Scarf Rotomo. Whenever you play Trick Room, you usually want one thing to be pretty quick. So here we've chosen Rotom. It's going to be putting in a lot of work outside of the Trick Room. So once it ends, you can bring this guy in, go for the Trick Room, go for the Volt Switch, get the Hatterene back in, just so you can get the ball rolling again. So we're using Volt Switch, Trick, Beef Storm, and then Shadow Ball as the coverage move. Alternatively, he could do like a Hex if he's wanting to work off of that Toxapex strategy. That could be interesting. Could do Thunderbolt if he wants to keep this thing in more, or even a Will-O-Wisp. You don't want to run Thunder Wave on this build just because you don't want your opponent to be slower than you during Trick Room. Next, we have the same banded adaptability Crawdon as before, except now we're doing Brave Nature. That's the only change. So bring it in on Trick Room. It's really nice because if your opponent is somehow slower than you, you can just use the Aqua Jet to get that priority hit during the Trick Room. For the final team we've got for Baloo, we have kind of the Turbo Dracovish build. It's more of like a normalized set, I think, for him. So we're doing Choice Band, Strong Jaw, Vicious Rend, Outrage, 2 coverage moves. For the EVs, we're going Adamant with max attack, max speed. Although I think better it should probably be Jolly just so you can get that extra speed. So yeah, Jolly, max attack, max speed. Now this is the main focus of the build, is using a Focus Sash, Compound Eyes, Galvantula with Sticky Web. So Sticky Web is a entry hazard. When your opponent comes in, it's going to lower their speed. So most of the time he's going to lead with this, get the sticky webs out turn 1. They can't really prevent it unless they have something faster, which is really hard to do, just because of that Focus Sash. So something tries to kill it on turn 1, it goes down to 1 HP, and then you get the sticky web off, and you don't really have to worry about it. Thunder, because you have the compound eyes, so it increases the accuracy by 1.3. So Thunder normally is 70%, and it goes up to, I want to say, around 80% or something like that. Let me run a quick calculator real quick. Goes up to 91% actually. So really big chance of a huge stab boosted electric attack. Volt switch, just so we can get the Dracovish in, or maybe the Hatterene. All depends on what your opponent's going against. And then Bug Buzz, just for that additional stab move. For EVs, we're going max special attack, max speed with a timid nature. We want to get as fast as we can. Make sure we can try to dodge those taunts if they try to come out. So that's the reason for this. Just has to watch out for prankster taunts from things like Grimmsnarl and such. So in that case, he could even go for a Volt Switch and then get the Hatterene in, or even just hard switch into it. Next up, we have a specially defensive Cramorant. If you guys saw the Baloo versus Wyfox game, I believe this is a pretty similar build to what he brought, except instead of Icy Wind, we are bringing Ice Beam. We saw how threatening the Icy Wind was against Wyfox's Hydreigon, so I think the Ice Beam will be able to actually knock it out instead of just lowering the speed of something. Icy Wind is decent also, but I think Ice Beam has a better place on this guy. So as far as moves go, we have Defog, Surf, Roost, and Ice Beam. Surf works along with the Gulp Missile, so whenever it uses Surf or Dive, you get like a fish or a Pikachu in your mouth, and when you get hit, the attacker takes a fourth of their max HP, and then they get either one stage loss of defense, or they get paralyzed if you got the rare Pikachu in your mouth. So it's all random there. For the EVs, let's actually change that down to 248, just so we can have that odd number for the Stealth Rocks, and 252 Calm Nature on Special Defense. This will make it be able to maximize the bulk. In the game that we saw already, this thing ate up a Dark Pulse from Hydreigon. It took maybe 20%. I don't even know if it took that. So after you leftovers heal up, like, this thing is a great tank actually, which is really surprising because it doesn't look like something that would be. Next, we have a Cleric build of Hatterene. So leftovers, Magic Bounce, using Aromatherapy just to be able to heal up in case somebody gets a burn off on your Dracovish, maybe a Toxic on your Cramorant, things like that. So it could be really useful in a kind of stally match. Next, we have Thunder Wave. You can kind of nug something down if it's going to be faster than Dracovish, and it'll make it so that later in the match, Dracovish can come out. You don't have to worry about it outspeeding you. So combined with the Sticky Webs from Galvantula, Dracovish is going to be able to really put in some work. We have Psychic as the big attack for it, and then Healing Wish to ultimately heal up the Dracovish if it gets damaged. Now, Healing Wish is interesting. It knocks you out, and then the Pokemon that you send out goes up to full health. So it's a very cool move, not many things have it. For the EVs, we're going 252 HP and 252 defense with a bold nature. Hatterene has a 103 base special defense, and normally we would utilize that instead, but the Cramorant can't really be physically defensive, it only has a 55 base. So using these two, the Hatterene is going to have to be the physical bulk, which it has a 95 base, so that's pretty decent actually. Next, moving on, we're going to the Pangoro. This is like a almost an anti-lead sort of thing. So leftovers, Mold Breaker. For moves, we're going for Parting Shot, Close Combat, Bullet Punch, and Taunt. It's pretty much just a utility build. Not really anti-lead, but Taunt is going to be able to stop your opponent from going for Stealth Rocks on something that's slow, like a Ferrothorn, things of that nature. So pretty much just to prevent your opponent from getting up their own Sticky Webs or something like that. Parting Shot is great because you can use this, and then you get your Dracovish in. It can take a little bit of damage just because your opponent's attack and special attack gets dropped. So it'll be great for pulling that Dracovish in. Close combat for damage, and Bullet Punch to finish things off, like we said before. Now we have a Healing Berry, Rotomo. For these, it doesn't really matter which one you use. Aguav, Ayapapa, Mago, whatever you want. It's just, I like the name of this one, so that's what I'm going for. Volt Switch, again, we want to get the Dracovish in as much as possible, so that's where this is going to come in. Leaf Storm, pretty much because you have to have it on Rotomo. Hex is for the if you get a Thunder Wave on something, or you get your own Will-O-Wisp off, you can do a bunch of damage to something easily. And the Will-O-Wisp is for being able to put a burn on things that could otherwise threaten Dracovish. So burn will half their attack stat. You can bring Dracovish in after your Volt Switch, and you're golden. We're going with the same EV spread, max special attack, max speed, timid nature, and that'll just allow this guy to outspeed the most amount of things. So that's all the teams that we've got today for Baloo. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Baloo, if you're watching, look at these builds. They are pretty simple, so should be able to put in some work with them, I think. So thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit that notification bell, so then next time we have a video pop up, you can be the first to see it. Alright guys, have a great day. Bye-bye.